Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, Michael Lawton joins us. He is the Senior Economic Analyst for the Nevada Gaming Control Board, here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Liberals Steve Sisolak and Aaron Ford. Socialism out of control. Releasing violent criminals, special interests over our children, and crippling shutdowns on small businesses. It's time for a conservative approach. Republican Tisha Black. A mom who will put our kids first. A self-made businesswoman who will stop government overreach. And Tisha backs the blue. She'll get tough on crime. Tisha Black, the conservative choice for Attorney General.
Why is Mark Amadei voting with the Democrats? Benefits and citizenship for illegal immigrants, funding Planned Parenthood, reckless budget bills. Who doesn't he vote with? Everyday people like all of us. Nevada demands better, and better begins now. Danny Tarkanian is an America First conservative who will fight radical far-left policies. He has the courage to stand against those whose agenda is to see our country fail.
My name is Danny Tarkanian. I'm running for Congress, and I approve this message.
Politicians, they hide behind commercials and social media, trying to act tough. A bunch of keyboard cowboys. They talk tough about immigration, but none of them have locked up or deported a single violent criminal. Not one. I've deported thousands. They closed schools, tied the hands of police, and wrecked our economy. I'm Joe Lombardo. I'm running for governor because we can do better. Nevada deserves better. Let's take our state back.
Joe Lombardo for governor. Jesse Haw, conservative, businessman. Jesse has a plan to take Nevada from one of the worst states for election integrity to one of the best. He'll fight to pass voter ID, so everyone has to show identification to vote. And Jesse will work to make the practice of ballot harvesting a felony again. Join the fight to secure our elections. Elect Republican Jesse Haw, Nevada Secretary of State.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're delighted to welcome back to the program Michael Lawton. He is CPM, Senior Economic Analyst for the Nevada Gaming Control Board. And to put it in simpler terms, he's the guy that gives all the information out each month about how much the state has won or lost with the gaming industry. Welcome back, and what an incredible run it continues for Nevada casinos.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I think the last time I was on the show was in October. We had just completed 6 consecutive months of $1 billion in gaming win, and we were kind of scratching our heads, and we were wondering, how much longer could this streak continue? And we thought, hey, maybe it'll continue through the end of the year, and then we'll see where we're at. I had some concerns when I was on your show about, what was COVID going to do? How sticky was this demand that we were experiencing? And but then I felt good too. There was some positives. There was some pretty big, special events coming online in the back half of the year. And there was a Rolling Stones concert in November. There was a Celine Dion residency. That didn't happen, but neither did Adele. But we had a Rolling Stones concert. The Raiders games were coming online. There was a Gwen Stefani residency, Lady Gaga, so we felt pretty good. And then, like I'm here today, it's March. We just released March's numbers. It's May, but we released a couple weeks ago, and it's been 13 consecutive months of $1 billion in gaming win. Don't think anyone saw that coming. I certainly did not. And it shattered the previous record of consecutive months, which was 8, and that was set in 06-07. So we're really in historic territory that we've never experienced.
Well, for the industry, and as always, if I hit on topics you're not able to talk about, just let me know. But the whole gaming industry retooled during COVID to deal with lack of employees and lack of business. And so a lot of this additional money is dropping straight to the bottom line for these companies, and they are doing very well, and conceivably going forward, they will do even better.
Yeah, I think, during that shutdown, they were able to analyze every inch of their business, make decisions on, what they could do without, what changes they could make. I think they've evaluated, with employee shortages, the use of technology, and they've become much leaner. So yeah, the profit margins are higher than they were before, and they're really in good shape. I think looking back at the calendar year 21, it was an all-time record for gaming win, $13.4 billion in total win. It beat the previous record of $12.8 billion that was set in 07. Game and table win was strong, $4.2 billion in win, up slightly over the pre-pandemic levels in calendar year 2019, about 2.4% above those. But the slot win is what's really driving everything. It did $9.2 billion in slot win, all-time record, shattered the previous record in 2007 of $8.5 billion. It was 16.4% above where we were pre-pandemic. So just incredible numbers. And here we are we just completed the first quarter, and these numbers are continued at record pace. Through the first 3 months of the calendar year, we're 36.3% above where we were calendar year to date last year. It's just been an incredible run.
Okay, so you always have to play, as the Game and Control Board does and as the state has to, very conservatively. Mm-hmm. You're not looking at continuing records, you're looking at what is going to be realistic, and if it happens to be higher in records, then that's all great. So what are you looking at now that we have concerns about a potential recession? The stock market is a mess, inflation is running high. At the same time, there's another side of the coin, which is homeowners have never had more equity in their homes, and they have the ability to have all kinds of free cash flow. Mm-hmm. So how does this play out in your thinking, say, the next 3 months, the next year?
Great question. The sustainability of these numbers, right? We're going to start facing billion-dollar comparisons every month for the next year. So those are going to be tough to beat. To your point, consumers are extremely challenged right now. Record high inflation, record high gas prices. There's a geopolitical situation in Europe that no one saw coming that is making things unstable as well.
And the Ukrainian war.
Yeah. I think, with all those storm clouds on the horizon, there are some positive things we're hearing. We talk to our licensees, and what they're telling us is consumers are resilient. Their spending patterns, thus far have remained consistent. I think, we did some research on gas prices. Historically, gas prices have not always, a rise in gas prices has always not contributed to a fall in gross gaming revenue. Customers have a tendency to spend through that. So we're hoping that trend, that historical trend holds true. Some of the other positives that we're looking at is the continued ramp up of the convention business to fill those rooms midweek. That's continuing to get better and better each month. The other contributing factor is international travel, right? In April, I believe the number of flights coming into Harry Reid International Airport on the international side are going to be pretty close to what we had pre-pandemic. On top of all that, those positives are being complemented by an incredible entertainment and special events calendar that we think can continue to drive these numbers. So from a sustainability point of view, I think there's a good chance, at least for the next couple quarters, that these numbers can continue. We'll address them, once we get into the fall, and we'll see where we're at. But I'm fairly confident that these billion-dollar months could continue for, for the next couple quarters at least, and then we'll see where we're at.
So in the past, when gas prices went high, the casino industry responded by giving out gas cards. So there's a potential savior there in terms of they're smart enough to realize that they need to do something about that. Have you looked back, and would it even make any sense to look back that far, previously inflationary periods like the 70s, Jerry Ford's whip inflation now? We do have something to compare it to, but is it realistic to compare it to something that old?
We haven't gone back that far and looked at inflationary pressures. Gas prices was a concern, obviously, and what the data told us was, more often than not, the customer is going to spend through those increases. I think what we're hearing is maybe some of the lower end customers on the marketing campaigns, they might fall off, their spend might decrease, but overall, the gaming customer, they're gonna fight through those increases and gross gaming revenue. I mean, there has been scenarios where it has decreased, but overall, the majority of time when gas prices increase, gaming revenue has not decreased. So we're hoping that holds true, obviously.
And you don't track food and entertainment revenues, correct? You're just tracking the gaming revenues.
We track non-gaming revenue annually at the end of every fiscal year. So last fiscal year, obviously the non-gaming revenues were not very high. Not everything was opened back up. So a lot of that spend was going right into machines or table games or sports betting. So I think that's going to change when we look back at fiscal year 2022. I think you're going to see non-gaming is come roaring back, non-gaming spend.
Okay, what about pent-up demand as you look forward? I mean, we saw the pent-up demand just in Nevada and California, from a local basis all the way to a by-state basis. But with international, and especially when China eventually opens up, that pent-up demand, I'm presuming, is going to be astonishing.
Yeah, like I've said, how sticky is this demand? Well, it's been sticky. We haven't seen consumer behavior or heard of consumer behavior changing yet. And yeah, to your point, there could be a whole new wave of that demand coming in on the international side that hasn't been able to get here, hasn't been able to come to Las Vegas. So yeah, we're excited to maybe that could come in and backfill some of the demand if it falls off here on the domestic side, right? So there's that's why we feel pretty confident that these numbers could be sustainable if that midweek business comes back with conventions, international flows in, and it could help dissipate any negatives we feel from inflation and the pressures that customers are feeling from gas prices.
One of the other things that strikes me is that going back years, when Atlantic City opened up and it was the only other jurisdiction that was gaming, a lot of people at the time said, oh, Nevada's finished because Atlantic City's going to take over. They got the population base. And what it really did was drive more people to Las Vegas because they got to taste it in Atlantic City, and then they wanted to come to Las Vegas. With gaming continuing to open up around the world, it seems that that's still the same story, whether it's the United States or international, that people take a taste in their local jurisdictions and then come right over to Nevada.
Yeah, I think, gaming is not the only reason people come, obviously, right? There's so much more to do there. Right. And that's the driver with gaming, is being another avenue that people can spend on.
So what is it, about 32% now of the revenues?
In a traditional year, the strip would be, gaming would be in that 30.
Oh, so how much higher is it now because of the lack of entertainment up until recently?
Gaming came up very close to mid 40s, close to 50%. Because
That's
of the
huge.
shutdown. Yeah, it was a big change, but it's an anomaly. I think
Right.
the traditional spending patterns are going to come back into play once we analyze the data next year.
But that's really good for that was really good for the industry, because that was dropping to the bottom line. You didn't have to spend money paying Celine Dion.
Yeah.
You didn't have to pay to have the buffet open. Buffets, there's a couple in northern Nevada. There's a few in southern Nevada. Is that a thing of the past? I just feel it's Nevada.
I've heard industry discussion that the buffets, they were evaluated and they're not coming back. I think in some cases they have. It's it's a business decision on whether they're the profit margin on those, whether they want to continue or not.
All right, let's take a break. More with Mike Lawton. I love having him on the show. He is so much fun to talk to. We'll be right back.
Jesse Haw, conservative, businessman. Jesse has a plan to take Nevada from one of the worst states for election integrity to one of the best. He'll fight to pass voter ID, so everyone has to show identification to vote. And Jesse will work to make the practice of ballot harvesting a felony again. Join the fight to secure our elections. Elect Republican Jesse Haw, Nevada Secretary of State.
Liberals Steve Sisolak and Aaron Ford. Socialism out of control. Releasing violent criminals, special interests over our children, and crippling shutdowns on small businesses. It's time for a conservative approach. Republican Tisha Black. A mom who will put our kids first. A self-made businesswoman who will stop government overreach. And Tisha backs the blue. She'll get tough on crime. Tisha Black, the conservative choice for Attorney General.
Politicians, they hide behind commercials and social media, trying to act tough. A bunch of keyboard cowboys. They talk tough about immigration, but none of them have locked up or deported a single violent criminal. Not one. I've deported thousands. They closed schools, tied the hands of police, and wrecked our economy. I'm Joe Lombardo. I'm running for governor because we can do better. Nevada deserves better. Let's take our state back.
Joe Lombardo for governor.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you, but we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Mike Lawton. He is a senior economic analyst with the Nevada Gaming Control Board. One of the things that was kind of fun was how many tickets BTS sold at Allegiant. 4 concerts, I believe it was around 160,000 tickets sold in 2 hours. And then there was a rumble about, well, they're just bringing kids. The blowback was amazing, which is parents were saying, oh, no, we love them too. What were your thoughts about that?
Yeah, it goes to show you how old I am, because I had to look up what this K-pop sensation BTS is and how did they sell out Allegiant for 4 nights. And then I heard that they did
Daddy Yankee only did 2 nights.
I heard they did the same thing in LA for 6 nights. So yeah, an incredible signature special event. You know, we're going to have to evaluate, you know, its impact when we see the numbers here in a couple of weeks. We haven't gotten to April yet. You know, you had the draft in April as well. So we'll have to tear into those numbers and see what kind of impact those events had on gaming revenue in April.
What's your initial sense about the draft?
My initial sense on the draft was an incredible event in terms of tourism and visitation. Room rates were elevated. It brought a lot of people to town. You know, there was probably a lot of non-gaming spend. We've been told, you know, we reached out and asked, hey, how was it? Because, you know, I think there was a lot of anticipation. I think the impact on the gaming side is going to be a little disappointing than people might have expected. I think they expected more, and it might not have drove onto the gaming tables and the slots as much as people had anticipated originally.
But on the other side, like you say, room rates, food pricing, you know, whatever entertainment, because I think we talked about this before. It was kind of like the NFR, where even if your property was not sending people to the event, they were having events within the building. So you could be a part of it no matter where you were in Las Vegas.
The other thing about the draft that I saw was what great exposure for Nevada and Las Vegas. You know, it was basically a 3-day commercial, right? So that's going to be beneficial down the road as well. Whether it spilled into the gaming tables and the gaming floors, you know, we'll evaluate that. But I think it was fantastic exposure for the Nevada's tourism and visitation economy that we rely so heavily on.
Okay, as we're taping this, yesterday it was announced that the Las Vegas Convention Authority had approved about $20 million to go towards the Formula One racing over a 3-year period. When you start talking to sports people about Formula One, they tell you, you know, the Super Bowl, that's great. Formula One, way bigger. What's your initial thoughts on that?
It's exciting. It's new. I think
Is it as huge as people are making it
you
now?
know, I'm not an expert in that race at all. What I think we're seeing is this entertainment sports landscape that's been developed in the last few years is amazing. It's incredible. And Formula One is just going to add to it. You know, you have the potential for March. There was an announcement of a $3 billion project on the south end of the Las Vegas Strip for a gaming hotel entertainment district with a 20,000-seat arena that's designed, you know, with a NBA franchise in mind. Yeah, you've got the Formula One.
And that's got money behind it.
Yeah,
it's
big
not
money.
just a discussion.
Sounds like it's the real deal. So that's super exciting. I think another project that's exciting it's getting talked about, but I don't think people understand the magnitude of it, is the $1.9 billion MSG Sphere Arena that's being developed next to the Venetian It's a 17,500 seat arena. It's going to open up the end of 2023. I don't think anyone realizes how unique and different this project's going to be, and the kind of entertainment it's going to bring to the city that's just going to add to that gaming, entertainment, sports landscape that really can't be replicated. I love the marketing campaign of the greatest arena on earth. It truly is, and these things are just adding to it.
Yeah, and it's multimedia, and so they'll be able to do everything from conventions to concerts and everything in between.
It's 17,500 seats.
It's a lot of seats.
That's huge. That's a big venue.
Well, and you start thinking about the size of venues. We were in Las Vegas last month going to another concert, and between T-Mobile and Allegiant, if they both have events going on in one night, that's it's almost 100,000 people just in those two venues.
And how many weekends do they actually do that? All the time. It's incredible what the city of Las Vegas can pull off. I mean, you had in February, you had NHL All-Star Game, Pro Bowl, same weekend. At the end of the month in February, there was a Metallica and Billy Joel concert on back-to-back nights at Allegiant. I mean, who does that? Las Vegas.
And we'll take a break.
Politicians, they hide behind commercials and social media, trying to act tough. A bunch of keyboard cowboys. They talk tough about immigration, but none of them have locked up or deported a single violent criminal. Not one. I've deported thousands. They closed schools, tied the hands of police, and wrecked our economy. I'm Joe Lombardo. I'm running for governor because we can do better. Nevada deserves better. Let's take our state back.
Joe Lombardo for governor.
Hi, I'm Renee Summerhour, digital news anchor here at 7 at 7. Watch our streaming nonstop newscast immediately with your mobile phone. 7 at 7 is the new way for you to get every bit of local news you need in just 7 minutes. Breaking news, local neighborhood news, weather, and sports are just a click away. Reporters bring you all of what's happening in the Valley. From Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, YouTube, and more. Get every bit of local news you need from the RJ and LVRJ.com.
I'm here at the Carson Valley Inn in Minden with Joey Whitaker. One of the things I love about the Carson Valley Inn here in beautiful downtown Minden is CB steak. I have eaten here so many times. Tell folks what they can expect when they come here to eat.
It's a beautiful room, great service. We have certified Angus beef, seafood, lamb, a great range of appetizers, and wonderful desserts. Jean-Michel's done a great job of selecting some beautiful wines for us. The customers love it, and we've got a great selection of cocktails as well. It's not a long way to get away to the Carson Valley Inn.
Early in the morning or throughout the night, professional truck drivers are on the job, serving you, safely moving freight that's crucial to our economy. From the oldest industries to our newest innovators, from the exotic to the everyday, trucks are everywhere, moving everything. Never afraid to embrace a future that makes Nevada and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Mike Lawton. He is the Senior Economic Analyst with the Nevada Gaming Control Board. How much trouble did Adele's cancellation cause, do you think? Because people had paid thousands of dollars above the ticket price, and hotel rooms were booked at high rates, and all of that had to turn around. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I can't really comment on any of that. I don't think the Nevada Gaming Control Board was involved in that too much. I think from a you know how closely my position follows events, special events. It's a huge catalyst and driver for gaming-related activities. It was disappointing to hear. You know, we were really anticipating that to be, another signature special event, a signature residency that was going to be, on par with Celine Dion, and it didn't happen. So it was disappointing, but obviously the gaming numbers still held true to form, and hopefully it does happen. I think there's talk about, that's going to come online eventually, and we hope it does for sure.
I was surprised over the last day or so to read a couple of articles that talk about the profitability of the U.S. sports betting and iGaming industry, and investors are less convinced about the long-term profitability of a sports-only business. Is that coming your way as well?
You know, Nevada's model in terms of sports betting is a little bit different. You know, we're not involved in customer acquisition so much and all the free bets and the promotion that are really cutting into the bottom line of these sports betting companies. You know, Nevada's sports wagering industry has never been healthier. You look at calendar year 21, it was an all-time record for volume, 8.1 billion, and it was an all-time record for win, 445 million, something like that. So, and that was in the face of expansion everywhere, right? There's 30 states now that have legalized sports wagering, and Nevada still continues to chug along. A lot of that wagering is done via personal devices. 65% of it was done on whether it's phones, tablets, computers. So there's a real technological connection being made with sports wagering, and it continues to roll along. You're not hearing about profitability in sports books in Nevada as much as you are in other jurisdictions, just because of the expenses that they're going through to, you know, through customer acquisition.
I have 80 more questions and we're out of time, so that means please come back soon.
Yes, sir.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you
Mike.
very much.
And we'll be right back.
Jesse Haw, conservative, businessman. Jesse has a plan to take Nevada from one of the worst states for election integrity to one of the best. He'll fight to pass voter ID, so everyone has to show identification to vote. And Jesse will work to make the practice of ballot harvesting a felony again. Join the fight to secure our elections. Elect Republican Jesse Haw, Nevada Secretary of State.
Politicians, they hide behind commercials and social media, trying to act tough. A bunch of keyboard cowboys. They talk tough about immigration, but none of them have locked up or deported a single violent criminal. Not one. I've deported thousands. They closed schools, tied the hands of police, and wrecked our economy. I'm Joe Lombardo. I'm running for governor because we can do better. Nevada deserves better. Let's take our state back.
Joe Lombardo for governor.
Liberals Steve Sisolak and Aaron Ford. Socialism out of control. Releasing violent criminals, special interests over our children, and crippling shutdowns on small businesses. It's time for a conservative approach. Republican Tisha Black. A mom who will put our kids first. A self-made businesswoman who will stop government overreach. And Tisha backs the blue. She'll get tough on crime. Tisha Black, the conservative choice for Attorney General.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
As always, you can watch Nevada Newsmakers 24 hours a day at nevadanewsmakers.com. You can also check our archive going back to 2005 on our website. Again, nevadanewsmakers.com. We'll see you on the next show.